Some people just aren't cut out for fine dining. The words sliced through the Beverly Hills ballroom like broken glass. 24-year-old Jasmine Carter lay sprawled across Italian marble, champagne soaking through a uniform, shards glittering around her like cruel diamonds. Above her stood Margaret Van Doren, the billionaire granny, silver hair perfectly coiffed, emerald necklace catching the chandelier light, and that smirk. That terrible, knowing smirk. Jasmine's hands trembled as she reached for the broken crystal. Blood bloomed on her fingertip. Around her, 300 of America's wealthiest elites suddenly found their lobster bisque fascinating. Eyes down, mouths shut. The unspoken rule of their world: never challenge old money. Margaret adjusted her Cartier bracelet, each diamond worth more than Jasmine would own in 5 years. Well, she drawled to no one in particular. Isn't someone going to clean this mess up? The catering manager rushed over, already apologizing, already offering to pay for dry cleaning, already making Jasmine disappear the way these people always did, quickly, quietly, without fuss. But then, a chair scraped. The sound echoed impossibly loud in the suffocating silence. From a corner table, the cheap seats, if a $10,000 plate could be called cheap, a figure rose. Slowly, deliberately, 6'5" of pure presence. Jasmine looked up through tears, and her breath caught. No, it couldn't be. Dwayne Johnson moved through the frozen crowd like a ship through fog. His tuxedo was simple, understated. No entourage, no fanfare, just a man walking toward injustice with a kind of calm that makes smart people nervous. He reached Jasmine and knelt, his knee hitting the floor beside her without hesitation. "Are you hurt?" His voice was soft, kind, the voice of someone who actually saw her. Margaret's smirk flickered, just for a second. "Excuse me," she said, voice dripping with condescension. "This doesn't concern." Her name. Dwayne interrupted, still looking at Jasmine. "What's your name?" "J. Jasmine. So." "Jasmine." He helped her stand, steadying her, then turned. "And what happened next would cost Margaret Van Doren everything. Quick one for you before we continue. Where are you watching from? Drop your country in the comments. This story went viral worldwide, and I want to know where my audience is tuning in from today. Also make sure to subscribe and turn on the notifications icon to be always updated when we drop our next heartwarming stories. "I think," Dwayne said, his voice carrying across the ballroom like thunder, "we need to address what just happened." Margaret waved a dismissive hand, rings flashing. "An accident. The girl is fine. Perhaps a bit clumsy for this caliber of event." "I watched you trip, huh?" The ballroom temperature dropped 20 degrees. Margaret's laugh was sharp, practiced. "Don't be ridiculous." "Why would I? Do you have any idea who I am?" "My family built half of." "I know exactly who you are, Mrs. Van Doren." Dwayne pulled out his phone, tapped twice. "What you don't know is who I am tonight." Confusion rippled through the crowd. Whispers started. "Isn't that The Rock? What's he doing here? Is this some kind of publicity stunt?" The event coordinator rushed forward, face pale. "Mr. Johnson, please, if we could just—" "Tell them," Dwayne said quietly. The coordinator swallowed hard. "Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Johnson is tonight's anonymous donor. The entire event, all $5 million, came from him." The ballroom exploded into shocked murmurs. Margaret's smirk vanished. "Now," Dwayne continued, "I'd like to see the security footage. All of it. On the main screen." "That's completely unnecessary," Margaret started. "Show it." 3 minutes later, the room watched in HD clarity as Margaret Van Doren deliberately, unmistakably, extended her foot. The angle was perfect. The intent undeniable. Jasmine never had a chance. A woman at table 7 gasped. Phones emerged from clutches and jacket pockets. Social media caught fire. "This is absurd." Margaret's voice pitched higher. "I donate millions to charity. My family—" "Your family isn't here," Dwayne said. "You are, and so is she." He gestured to Jasmine, who stood trembling, tears streaming down her face. Then something unexpected happened. A waiter stepped forward. Young, Latino, voice shaking. "She did the same thing to me. Last year, Made me trip carrying soup. Called me. He couldn't finish. Another server emerged. Then another. A housekeeper. A valet. The dam broke. Stories poured out. Years of casual cruelty. Racist remarks disguised as jokes. Tips withheld for invented mistakes. Public humiliation as sport. All from a woman who'd built her reputation on philanthropy. Margaret's face went from red to white to purple. This is a setup. You're all. Well, what? Margaret. The voice came from her own table. Her daughter stood, eyes glistening. I'm so sorry, she whispered to the room. I'm so sorry. But Dwayne wasn't finished. What he said next would make headlines for months. I'm withdrawing my donation. 5 words. $5 million. Complete silence. Margaret's mouth opened. Closed. Opened again. You can't. I absolutely can. Dwayne's voice remained calm, but it carried the weight of absolute conviction. And I'm redirecting every penny to a new scholarship fund. The Jasmine Carter Foundation for Hospitality Workers Facing Discrimination. The ballroom erupted. Applause started from the back, the staff section, and rolled forward like a wave. Margaret stumbled backward, gripping the table. Do you have any idea what you've done? I have lawyers, connections. I know governors, senators. I could destroy you. With what? Dwayne stepped closer. Not threatening, just present, immovable. Your reputation? Check Twitter. It's already gone. Your social standing? Look around. Margaret spun. Every face had turned away. Her own friends examined their plates. Her country club companions studied the ceiling. Even her daughter stood with her back turned, shoulders shaking. You people. Margaret's voice cracked. Decades of entitlement shattering. I've donated millions. I'm on 12 charity boards. You've bought silence, Dwayne said quietly. But you can't buy it anymore. Not after tonight. Margaret lunged forward, finger jabbing. You self-righteous. You think because you make movies, because people cheer for you, that you're better than me? I was born into real wealth. Generational wealth. You're just some. The slur hung in the air, unspoken but implied. And that's when it happened. 300 of America's elite, old money, new money, tech money, all stood up, in unison, and turned their backs. Margaret spun in a circle, hands outstretched, voice rising to a shriek. Look at me. Look at me. I matter. My family. But she was shouting at designer suitbacks and elegant evening gowns. At silence. At the sudden, terrifying realization that money couldn't save her from this. Security appeared. Not roughly. Just present. Don't you touch me. Do you know who We know exactly who you are, Mrs. Van Doren, the security chief said softly. That's why you need to leave. As they escorted her out, Margaret grabbed door frames, screaming threats, promising lawsuits, invoking names of powerful people who would definitely, absolutely, certainly make everyone pay. Her voice faded down the hallway. The ballroom stayed silent. Then Dwayne walked to Jasmine, who stood frozen, tears streaming. He took her hand gently. You okay? She nodded, unable to speak. Good, he smiled, because I think you and I need to talk about your future. And somewhere, a phone camera captured it all. By morning, the world would know what happened when money met dignity. Dignity won. The video hit Twitter at 11:47 p.m. By midnight, #Billionaire Granny was trending in 43 countries. By 3 a.m., Margaret Van Doren's Wikipedia page had been edited 17 times, each revision more damning than the last. Her charity board positions? Suspended pending investigation. Her exclusive country club membership? Revoked by emergency vote. The luxury brand she'd represented for decades? Statements of disappointment and severed partnerships flooded inboxes before sunrise. But here's what the cameras didn't catch that night. Jasmine sat in Dwayne's car. Yes, he drove her home himself, hands still shaking, makeup ruined by tears. I don't understand, she whispered. Why did you do that? For me. Dwayne was quiet for a moment, eyes on the road. My mom was a server, single parent. I watched people treat her like she was invisible, like she didn't matter. He glanced over. Everybody matters. Jasmine. Everybody. 3 days later, the scholarship offer arrived. Full ride. Cornell School of Hotel Administration. Jasmine's mother collapsed in the kitchen, sobbing into her hands. But the story didn't end there. More victims emerged. A former housekeeper, Margaret, had accused of theft. Security footage eventually proved she planted the missing jewelry herself. A young black valet she'd fired for suspicious behavior. He was simply returning her forgotten phone. A Latino gardener whose wages she withheld for substandard work. His only crime was not speaking perfect English. Each story carved away another piece of Margaret's carefully constructed legacy. Her daughter, Elizabeth, went on Good Morning America. Tays streaming, voice breaking. I watched my mother become a monster, and I said nothing. That makes me complicit. I'm donating my entire trust fund, $32 million, to organizations fighting workplace discrimination. The interview went viral. People called her brave, courageous, a hero. She called herself what she was. Too late. Meanwhile, Margaret sat in her Bel Air mansion, 18 bedrooms, nobody in them, watching a world disintegrate on cable news. Her sons wouldn't return calls. Her grandchildren had been instructed not to visit. Even her attorney suggested she lay low for the foreseeable future, which is a fancy way of saying hide. But Jasmine was just getting started. 6 months later, she stood at a podium, cap and gown crisp, graduating top of her accelerated program. The audience erupted when they called her name. And in the back row, barely visible, a familiar figure stood and applauded. Dwayne kept his promises. But what happened at Jasmine's first job changed everything. The Grand Belmont Hotel. Opening night. Black tie. Jasmine Carter's first event as assistant events manager. She moved through the ballroom with quiet confidence, checking place settings, adjusting florals, ensuring every detail was perfect. 2 years had passed since that night. 2 years of school, internships, therapy to overcome the trauma, and countless hours proving she belonged in rooms she'd once only served. Then it happened. An elderly guest, diamond earrings, Chanel suit, old money written in every gesture, caught her heel on the carpet. She stumbled, wobbled, reached out desperately. Jasmine was there in seconds. "I've got you," she said softly, steadying the woman. "Are you all right? Let me get you a chair." The woman looked up, embarrassed, expecting judgment. Instead, she found kindness. "I'm so clumsy. I'm sorry. Don't apologize," Jasmine smiled. "It happens. Can I get you some water? Maybe a different pair of shoes from our courtesy collection." The woman's eyes filled with tears. "You're so kind. Thank you." As Jasmine walked away, her supervisor appeared beside her. "You know who that was? Caroline Westbrook. Her family's worth $2 billion. She could have complained, made a scene. Why would she?" Jasmine asked simply. "She's a person who tripped. I helped her up." That's when it clicked. The lesson Margaret Van Doren never learned, the one Jasmine had known all along. Wealth measures your bank account. Character measures your humanity. Somewhere across town, Margaret scrolled through Instagram, her only remaining connection to a world that had erased her. She saw Jasmine's success, the foundation bearing her name, the speaking engagements, the opportunities. For just a moment, Margaret understood what she'd lost. Not money, not status, the chance to be remembered as someone good. Here's the truth that money can't buy. Your legacy isn't what you own. It's how you treat people when nobody's watching. It's a dignity you get when it costs you nothing. It's standing up when everyone else sits down. Margaret had billions but died poor. Jasmine had nothing but became rich. If this story moved you, hit that subscribe button. We're Billionaire Dawn Stories, and we tell the tales that money tries to hide, the moments when character beats cash every single time. Subscribe now, because next week's story will blow your mind. Trust me, you won't want to miss it.